Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
So, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glow Cloud team.
Welcome everyone. I'm Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. I've been an architect now of every possible kind you can think of for well over 25 years now. And I'm here with Alonzo Coleman, who's our Chief Marketing Officer. And we're here to answer your questions to help you build your best technology career. I know when you start out your career, if you have guidance, you can get to your goals very quickly. If you don't have guidance, you can do what happened to me initially, where I got 6 different certifications and worked really hard. And in the end, nobody cared until I actually found out what employers desired. And once I learned those and mastered those skills, I was hired. So I've spent 25 years as an architect. network architect, enterprise architect, business architect, you name it. If there's an architect role, I've had it. I've been spending more than 2 decades helping others build their first technology career. I've got graduates that work at Apple and Amazon and Cisco and IBM and Google and Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, JP Morgan Chase Bank, PricewaterhouseCoopers, you name it, they're there. And I want to assist you build your career. So that's why we're here. We are here once per week, and we do a webinar tomorrow, which I'll get to in a minute, to help answer your questions. So ask us your questions so we can help you get to your goals. Don't be shy. We love helping people, and that's why we come online completely free 1 day per week like this, just to help guide you to get to your goals and get there fastest. Before we begin, I'd like to tell you about a few things. I would like to tell you about our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect webinar. Our First Cloud Architect webinar tomorrow. You can sign up for it. It's a link in the chat boxes as well as the description. Tyrone is popping up that information right now. I'm going to paste it into the chat boxes. We also have a document on how to get your first cloud architect job. I'd love you to see that document, read that document, and then come to the webinar, because we want to be the people that help you understand the cloud architect role and how to get hired. And we'll talk about all of it tomorrow. And while we're at it, you'll even be able to ask us questions. And on that webinar, so you'll be able to ask us any questions. We'll have face-to-face conversations. You want us to practice interview, whatever you want, we'll be able to do that on that webinar tomorrow, and it is completely free. And we've just launched our Enterprise Architect program, which I am super excited about. Look, I love the cloud architect role, and I've gotten so many people great cloud architect jobs and enterprise architect jobs over the years. And it's a pre-launch. The course will be completely ready February 12th. So because it's not completely ready, anybody that signs up now gets 50% off, and we'll lock in that pricing. So I wanted to let you know about that. So please bring us your questions so we can help you build a career. Tyrone, you're in the back, so please feel free to bring in any questions when you see them. Number 2, hey, Mike and team, can you talk about some of the common traits you've seen in those who've been successful in our program?
Oh, yeah.
Number 2, absolutely great questions. So here's the thing. It's not your background that gets you to your goals. It's a few things. It's your attitude. The people that are most successful in my program have a positive attitude and a can-do attitude. The people that are most successful in our program are open-minded, because people have what they think is an architect job, and then when you actually teach them the skills, they have to be willing to take it. So open-mindedness is there. I will also tell you that people that are willing to focus on their soft skills, their communication skills, their leadership skills do really well. And I'll tell you, the people that come to class, or at least some of the classes, and do all the projects and do all the assignments, they really do wonderfully. But, I'd love to say at this point that we've got people hired in the US and Canada and South America and Africa, in Europe and the Middle East and Asia and Australia and New Zealand, those kind of places, and we have. But, we provide, the training for them. And I've been an architect for decades, so I know exactly what people need. Plus, I speak to constant hiring managers to find out what they need. But it's the people that actually do the work that are highly, highly, highly successful. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Highly successful people, meaning people that are willing to do the work, show up on time, do the required reading, watch the required videos, do the homework assignments. Boy, it's pretty interesting. We've done it for people all over the world. I think it was first interesting, when we had 20-year-old Daniel Boso, without even a high school diploma, get hired by JP Morgan Chase as a solution architect. I use him because people say when you're too young or you lack degrees, you can't do it. We've had 63-year-old Sig Wolf that we got hired. We had 61-year-old Robert Welch that we got hired. We've gotten people hired at every company, but all the people, they all have a great attitude. I can do it. I want to do it. And I will do it. And you put the right training in front of them, and they just thrive, thrive, thrive. What do you think, Alonso? Because you've got to see so many people get hired all over the world.
Absolutely, Mike. I think a lot of that comes into your initial decision to be determined to not quit and fulfill the entire scope of the program. There's no plan B. There's no, I'll just, be relaxed and not dedicated to putting your 100% attention into it. Now, let's keep this in mind now. Now, there's a lot of programs where you get to pay short term money or low funded, programs for videos. And a lot of people think that if I just knock out a quick ASMR related tech video, that I'm going to start making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And realistically, that's not even the case. So let's look at this realistically. Of course, you have to have the technical knowledge, competency, and know-how, but you also have to have the communication skills to be able to deliver your ideas, how things are happening, and be able to respond accordingly in a team environment. That takes soft skills, business acumen, emotional intelligence, just to name a few. So number two, keep in mind that number one, be determined no matter what to complete the program and get every bit of knowledge you can out of this so that you can be the go-to person out of a bunch of others. Be that golden apple, out of many. Be the golden goose out of many. Be that one person out of many that can set the bar and represents that bar of excellence higher than anyone else. And that's where you can see how we found all our successful students have done the same thing.
Yeah, and that's the key. You can't learn a career in a 30-hour certification. No. You just can't. We've got over 700 hours of content and training in our program. And of course we provide the certifications, but that's the easy part. The hard part is getting all those skills. And yes, we've had people highly successful, getting incredible jobs all over the world, but they're the people that do the work. Just because you go to a university, if you don't do the work, it doesn't mean you're going to learn anything. And, we're much the same way. We can put all the content in the world together, and I'm very proud of the content, and I'm extremely proud of the results we get. But we have to have the students that do the work. Great question there, number two. And number two, you got a couple of questions. I like questions.
Good.
Also, after that question, any suggestion on how to figure out what area of architecture I like, such as security, networking, etc.? And do I have to focus on one of these areas as an architect? Number two, another great question. So, look, there's many ways you can focus your architecture career. You can focus on the technology piece as a technical architect. You can focus on becoming a specialty architect, like a network architect or a security architect, or you can focus on being the generic architect that kind of focuses on the big picture. And then after they focus on the big picture, where you're at is, you can coordinate the specialty architects and the technical architects and the engineers. All are good. I will tell you from a financial perspective, the closer you are to the business, the more you will earn. The closer you are to technology, the less you will earn. And here's the reason why. And I didn't say it was right. Companies pay professionals to improve their business performance. Now, if you can improve their tech performance, you're worth something. But if you can take that tech and you can turn it into either revenue or operational efficiency for your client, that's the valuable skill. And that's why the average salary of someone with business acumen is $558,000 a year, where the average techie salary is going to be around 100 or 110 for a cloud engineer. So that's that discrepancy. When you're dealing with a solution architect or a cloud architect, you're typically dealing with $225,000 above for the job, because it is such a big blend of business and tech mixed together. In fact, the generic architect role is 50 to 80% business and 20 to 50% technology. As you extract even higher and you move into enterprise architecture roles, that's even 80% business and 20% tech if you're lucky. And sometimes that's 90 and 95% business and 5 to 10% tech. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But you got to do what you love. So if someone doesn't know, I would say start out and focus on being a generic architect. Be that person that understands a little bit of a lot of things and coordinates the experts to come through. And that's a specialty of itself, because we're now dealing with the reality of life. And the reality of life is people pay us to improve their business performance. I got to tell you, number two, I've done a lot of billion-dollar architectures in my life. And not one CEO that was going to sign the check for a billion-dollar architecture never said, Mike, I wanted to wake up and spend some money on tech because I thought it was cool. They all said to me, Mike, it's good to see you. And what can you do to optimize our business? And and I said, and I showed them, I sent them a system design that took 20 to 50 people to design. And I showed them, a business case that would show how it would impact their business and why. That's the secret. So, it's there. So start generic. And if you're like me and you find, God, I love networking, and you see BGP and it just gets you excited, and believe me, I have my geeky BGP side. Well, that's why I focused on networking. So that's really what I would say. Really work hard on making those things exactly what you want, and you'll do great.
From Cloud Station, will there ever be a shortage of cloud architect jobs? No.
I don't see
No.
how. And here's why the architect jobs are going up. Engineering jobs are being cut, but architect jobs are going up. Look, we've got all these cool AI tools. And of course, we teach AI in all of our programs as well, because in today's world, AI is part of everything. But, here's what we need to think about. AI, generative AI is a new tool. Of course, we've been using AI in my architectures for 20 plus years, but generative AI is a little bit new. And now for we cloud architects, it's like, oh, now we've got a new tool to optimize our client's business. And because of that, we're good. Plus, here's the second piece. It's so hard to find someone that is a business executive and also understands technology. You could walk around companies and find an enterprise architect that you try to tell them what the network is, and they may not understand you because they don't even realize there's networking in there because they're so business executive-y. And here's the thing. It's a combination of business and technology. And, it's so rare to find someone. So architecture, or really what you look at on the supply and demand curve of economics, is one of the best options. So no, all the new technologies mean somebody needs to actually design them in a manner that's cohesive for the business. And Cloud Station architect jobs are growing for another reason. Most technology projects fail. Meaning McKinsey says 70% of all technology projects fail. And 54% of all cloud architectures fail to do any benefit to business in any way. So that means they're just wasting money, hurting the business. And why is that? It's because the techie people drive the tech. Ooh, we got to go microservice. Cool AI. But what if that's not going to assist the business? So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Yes, I don't foresee a shortage in architect jobs for the next decade or more. Now, I see layoffs for engineers because, and you can see it. Companies are already saying this. You take a company like IBM, they're not cutting any customer-facing positions, and architects are customer-facing. They're cutting engineering positions and back-end things because generative AI can actually do the work of a programmer or a blog writer or automation. But the architect, because we've got to speak to the client, give them presentations, lead, sell, negotiate, manage stakeholders, be CXO relevant. It's a skill that's really expensive to learn. In fact, Cloud Station, it cost me about $300,000 to learn how to be a good architect. And that's why I created our course, because I know most people aren't going to go get an MBA for the business acumen and have their company spend $50,000 to $100,000 on courses for CXO relevancy and sales and executive presence and leadership skills and difficult conversations classes. And, this is what I do, is my way of giving people the opportunity that aren't rich to become cloud architects. So I don't think there'll ever be a shortage of a job that's so hard to find of people that are actually qualified to do it, because you can't learn it under certification. It costs a fortune to learn, and it takes a degree of dedication, and that puts you perfectly on the supply and demand curve, kind of like the CCIE. The reason the CCIE certification is valuable, and I'm not Mr. Certification by any stretch of the imagination, is this. You can look at it this way. Assume 50 people try to take the exam every single day. And after 25 years, there's only 60-some thousand people. Think about that. Like probably 500,000 people pass an AWS certification in a year. And after 20 years, there's only 60,000 people that can manage to pass the CCIE. That's why an AWS certification may get you an interview, but it won't get you hired. But you pass that CCIE exam, you pretty much have the skills necessary to work. So be rare, be an architect. And no, I don't see any shortage of architecture jobs coming any day soon.
No. Back to Cloud Station. I have a friend who wants to get into cloud architecture careers, but he has trouble deciding what type of role he wants to focus on. How can he achieve this?
Well, if it's a cloud architecture career, start generic. And don't specialize in anything until you find something you love. And honestly, I wouldn't specialize. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't specialize in any tech like security or AI or anything. And kind of keep this in the back of your mind. So, start generic, and if you find something you love, but remember this, the closer you are to the business, the farther you are, the more you're going to earn anyway. So focus on business special and digital transformation. That would be the specialty I would do if I didn't know.
From Anil, does this course also include AI and generative AI?
And Neil, of course. I mean, we're architects. We have to use every tool possible for us to actually design our customers' organizations. So of course we do it. Of course we teach AI. In fact, my students just did a fairly large AI architecture project about a month ago, and my students are working on a new architecture right now. So, but no, of course we cover these things. We cover every part of the architect job, whether it be designing the skill, system design, whether it be managing leadership, whether it's presentations to executives, whether it's writing thought leadership documents, whether it's the creation of an executive briefing, whether it's building an ROI model to show the customer the value of the technology, whether it's negotiation skills, whether it's interview skills, whether it's network, data center, cloud, AI, we cover it all. And we have 700 hours for it. And we teach exactly what the architect job does. And, you know, the architect job is misunderstood. There's people that think we are hands-on people as architects. They think we're going to code or configure. Look, you try to code on your customer's network, you'll be escorted out of the room by security. But, you know, or configure, because we don't do that. There's a special team for that. And I'll get into it at some point. Somebody will ask me, and I'll go over the silly job descriptions that are out there. And I actually have a new video coming out with the tech recruiter about that any day. But of course we teach these things. If you're going to be doing it, like responding to an RFP or RFQ, we teach you how to do it. If it involves, you know, managing a board of directors, we'll teach you how to do it. So we teach every one of those components necessary for you to be an architect. And we've got 700 hours of live training for you to be able to do it.
From Diggleman, hello, it's good to see you again. Hey, Mike, is it better to be a security architect for a corporation or a consulting firm?
Where are you happiest? So generally speaking, you'll earn more at a vendor or a consultant than you will an end firm themselves. And here's the reason why. If you're the security architect working at Palo Alto, your job as an architect to design, present, and sell a security solution. So you're getting commissions there. And because of that, it can pay far more than working for the end customer themselves. If you're at a consulting firm, you'll typically earn less than you actually would at a security vendor, but you'll get a type of experience and a type of education there that is second to none. And it's there. And it still pays more, about 50K more, I would say, on average, than working at an end firm. Now, working at an end firm, it depends how critical security is for their business. If you're working for a bank, well, yeah, they need their security people, and they will compensate them handsomely because the risk to cybersecurity of their business. If you try to do security for a medium-sized business, well, they don't have the funding, they don't have the budget, and they are less concerned about availability, precision, and security. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Mm-hmm. So it's all where you're going to be happiest, though. But you know what? If you're happier than an end customer, even if you earn a little less, that's great. If you're at a consulting firm, you're going to be doing a lot of travel.
Yes, I was going to say that.
And
you know, be in the air.
When I was a kid doing consulting, you know, I'd start my day off in, well, Palm Beach, Florida, and then give a speech in Washington, D.C., give another speech in California, then go to London and give a speech, then give a speech in Dubai, and then go over to Australia. That was cool. I got to see the world. But you know, at 50 years old, do I really want to travel like that? No, the answer is no. I want to stay home with my wife and my cat and enjoy, you know, the South Florida lifestyle. But, you know, so it's that. But they're all good jobs, Dingleman. It's a matter of where you fit happiest. That's the secret.
Yeah.
You want to be happy at the end of the day. Do you love what you do? And if you don't, find something else.
Yeah.
You know, we work 8-10 hours a day. Life is short. I used to practice internal medicine in my youth, Dingleman. And, you know, I've watched people's last minutes. No one ever said, Mike, I really regret not getting that promotion, or I really regret, you know, not earning more. They were saying, I regret the time with my family. I regret the fact that I had a fight with my brother and we haven't talked for 20 years until now. So do what makes you happy. And they're all good, Dingleman. And if you're where I think you are, I know you've got the personality to be good for any of them.
Famite, hello, Mike and team. Do I necessarily need to be in the US or Europe to get cloud hired at the big companies? Please provide more context. I'm from Africa, specifically Nigeria.
Okay, so let's talk about this. We have clients getting hired all over the world. I'll tell you right now, one of the members of my staff lives in Bamenda, Cameroon. I can tell you Tyrone, who's behind the scenes right now, lives in Cape Town, South Africa. So keep that in the back of your mind. You do not necessarily have to be in the US or Europe. We've gotten people hired in New Zealand. We've gotten people hired in Australia. We've gotten people hired in all over the place, as well as Central and South America. So, you have to be good. Now, I'll tell you, the challenge being in Africa for architecture positions is you have to be near a good airport. And if you're near a good airport, that's going to help a lot. I'm going to tell you why Africa positions I think are going to grow, grow, and grow. And I'm really blessed around here. What do we have? 700 or 800 Nigerian students, Alonzo, and maybe 600 or 700 Cameroonian students. And then we've got people everywhere from Togo to Botswana to anywhere in between. And we work with some of the incredible people from Africa, and they really, really do well. I mean, some truly incredible people. So the answer is no, you don't, but you have to be good. And you have to be near an airport, because there's some jobs like engineering where it doesn't matter where you're at in the world because you're just going to code. And in an architecture job, you can do many of your meetings remotely, but at some point you're going to have to go meet someone to convince them to spend some money on you. So, I work with a tremendous number of people in Africa, and they impress me every single day by the amount of work and effort people take to get things done and their success. So, I got to tell you, it's a wonderful experience for me. But no, we've got people everywhere, and they're successful everywhere. I've had people from Nigeria move to England after they took our program and get jobs. I've had people in India move to Canada and get jobs. I've got people getting jobs in Mexico City. I've got people getting jobs all over the world. So you're there. Now, here's why I think it's really exciting times for Africa. So, a lot of companies, for whatever reason, good or bad, and I'm not here to choose, good or bad, have started to ask their employees to come back to the office. IBM just posted, managers, if you don't come to the office, don't come back to the company at all. And Google's bringing people back, and Amazon's bringing people back. I'm not saying whether they're right or wrong, but what are people doing in response? I'm not coming to the office. I'm not coming to the office. I'm not coming to the office. So if a company is paying workers in America and they're saying, I'm not coming to the office, now think about this. Does the company need to hire people in America at that point? Well, if they're not going to come into the office and they're not going to meet with people, it doesn't matter. So now what you'll also have to consider is companies consider, it's a concept of arbitrage. And here's what the concept is. If I pay someone $100,000 in the US, that's functionally equivalent to $28,000 in India because the cost of living is higher. So now we've got people that say, I'm collecting $200,000 a year, and yes, you're paying me, and you asked me to come to the office, but I'm not. We no longer need to hire local people. Now American companies and other companies are going to say, well, if the Americans aren't going to come to the office, I'm not limited to 322 million people in America. I can look at those 200 million people plus that are in Nigeria that are highly educated in a tech company that speak exceptionally good English in most cases, So I see remote getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think Africa is going to benefit first because there's a hardworking population. Secondly, because in many countries like Nigeria, there's very good grasp of the language. And third, you've got a very educated population. So I think there's more opportunities there. And I'm blessed to be working with so many people from Africa. What are your thoughts, Alonzo? You and I get to work with people from all over.
That's one of the beauties of being in this position, is that we have an opportunity to speak to a global audience, and it doesn't matter about the culture or any other distance or anything else, that we are all under the one banner of cloud architecture and desire to be the best that we possibly can be. And that affords us opportunities to meet from different cultures, different time zones. And it's interesting because when I am adding content to our Slack community, and I hit that @ channel, and it says you have all of these thousands of students across 24 different time zones, it definitely helps me to sit up in the chair and be grateful and appreciative that we have this audience of people that come together for this. So I'm all for it. From Garata, hello. Do you have any students from Botswana? I believe we do.
Of course, we have many wonderful students from Botswana. You name it, we have them. And Botswana is one of the countries we have. Zimbabwe, we have South Africa, we have Togo, we have the Democratic Republic of Congo, we have Libya, we have Egypt, we have Ethiopia, we have Eritrea, we have Kenya, we have, I know I'm missing some, Mauritius, we have, Cameroon, we have a lot of people. Nigeria, obviously, have a lot of people. I know I'm missing a few countries there, but yeah, we have students in Botswana.
Cloud Station again. Mike, on your career as an architect, were there any different architect teams responsible for designing various components of the architecture? Could you please elaborate?
Yeah, Cloud Station, architecture is a team sport. I mean, there's an African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So in every architecture I do, it's a team sport. I meet with the client. I ask the CEO, CIO, CTO about the vision for the organization. After I'm done with that, I then need to go in there and analyze how their business operates and their business processes. And then I've got to work with the client to go map out their business processes for the future. Now I've got to go evaluate their technology, right? And we architects don't touch the tech. So I'm going to bring in engineers to baseline the system, figure out what's working and what's not working, and then I'm going to build a team to actually design it. If I'm the cloud architect or the enterprise architect, let's say I'm the cloud architect, I'm going to have a network architect be part of this. I'm going to have a security architect be part of it. I'm going to have an AI architect be part of this. I'm going to have an IAM architect be part of this. I'll have a big data architect be part of this. I may have data scientists that are also part of the group. I may also have some DevOps engineers. I may also have some cloud engineers to do a proof of concept to prove to the client it's going to work, because we architects don't touch the tech. And then when we're done with that, we're going to bring in different teams to help sell the product, different teams to help negotiate. Legal teams are going to be possible. So yeah, it is all a team sport, 100% of it.
From Kojo, I have checked some cloud architect positions online, and some require some programming experience. Do you teach any programming language?
Kojo, programming is completely irrelevant to the architect role. And I'll explain it. So Kojo, posi isa simera, isa daxi ogome daxi. So I asked you how you were doing today in Greek. That's programming language. It's another language. So let me describe to you what the cloud is. Then I'll talk to you why the silliness is coming on regarding program, which has nothing to do with our career. What's going on is I have yet to see a job description that actually means anything in my life. I have never had more than 10% of the skills in any job description. In fact, I have a tech recruiter CEO in New York she and I recorded a video last week about why job descriptions are so ridiculous. Here's what the cloud is, Kojo. You're renting space in somebody else's network in a data center. Renting space. And I'll tell you, Kojo, I retrain software developers and programmers every day because they don't know anything about cloud architecture. They know about writing code, which is a great skill, by the way, but it has nothing related to it. So let's look at what really the cloud is. We've got virtual machines. No, it's the same virtual machines in the data center since VMware invented it in 1999 as an AWS EC2 instance, an Azure virtual machine, an Oracle virtual machine, the compute engine. We have Kubernetes, another data center technology, containers and container orchestration on the cloud and the data center. We have load balancers in the data center, and we've got load balancers in the cloud. We've got storage area networks in the data center, such as block storage, object storage, file storage. We have storage area networks on the cloud. So we have firewalls in the data center. We have firewalls in the cloud. We have intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems in the cloud. This is why programmers struggle for cloud architect jobs. And here's the reason. What we do has nothing related to it. So let me talk about why some job descriptions tend to have a ridiculous number of careers. When it comes to an employer perspective, here's what we actually care about. We care about the following. Can you do the job? We care about your attitude, your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion. We care about your communication skills. We care about your emotional intelligence. We care about your willingness to go above and beyond, and you're being a team player. So we cast a big net. I'll put something, and my job description will have software engineering. Why? Because maybe a software engineer got to work with a lot of technology people and knows something about the backend systems. We look for networking people. Why? Because networking people actually understand the data center and the cloud, because we've been working with clouds for 30 plus years in networking. So, we'll look for somebody from a security background. Why? Because if they understand security, chances are they can be cross-trained. So what we're really looking for, Kojo, is anything other than a certification. Because we know when you finish the certification, or anybody finishes the certification, they're not going to know anything about anything. So what really matters is your ability to adapt, improvise, and overcome. You know, we had some programming training, but we don't include it in our course because it's never going to be something that's ever going to manage. What they're going to be concerned about, and I'll tell you how these interviews end and where most people fail the interview, it ends in a presentation. Now, Kojo, I can tell you, I've been an architect for 25 years and I don't know how to code anything. Why would I? I'm an architect. It's not related to my job. Do I know system design? Yes. Do I know how to make my clients more successful? Yes. Do I have the CXO relevancy skills? You better believe it, and they cost $30,000, $40,000 just to develop. Do I have the business acumen? Sure, absolutely. Do I have the emotional intelligence? Sure, I was training in it, but that's the key. That's the key. The key is they're looking for a giant scope. But no, we don't teach coding because it's completely irrelevant. No, I spoke to you initially in Greek, Kojo, and whether I spoke to you in Python or Greek, now I'm going to ask you in an interview, could you tell me whether I should consider designing a hybrid cloud or a public cloud when an organization's weighted average cost of capital is 5.79%? You're going to have to be able to calculate a business case on that. I promise you, you will have to present in front of executives and sell your course. I promise you, you will have to give a presentation every day. I promise you will be facilitating meetings. I promise you, you'll be managing stakeholders. And we spend 700 hours teaching those skills because that's the job. And that's why our students get hired everywhere. But we don't teach coding. And I got to tell you, unless you enjoy coding, I wouldn't learn to code. And even if I was an engineer and I was dealing with a software developer, I beg them to get out of coding. Why? I love software developers. They're great. But AI can do what software developers can. Not the best software developers. The 10 out of 10, your A players and B players, they're not replaceable by technology. But your C and D players that companies have, AI can code in many cases better than they can. And sadly, AI can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never gets sick, never gets tired, never needs a vacation, and doesn't ask for a paycheck. So, but the answer is no. That's why we don't teach coding.
Folashaki, how does engineering as a career compare to architecture, strategy, sales, and consulting roles?
Well, it all depends on your goals. So I was an engineer and I love being an engineer, but when you're an engineer, you get treated about like the help. And I hate that. You got your architects earning 3 times what your engineers are earning. Your architects are going to steak dinners, drinking scotch on the company, going and meeting people. And you're coming in as an engineer at 3 o'clock in the morning, updating somebody's systems because they're broken. Architecture cannot be replaced by AI because the human element of meeting with people, leading people, etc. Engineers, unless they're great, are getting laid off in droves. And sadly, more of that's coming because AI can do what they do. So I don't recommend engineering careers unless someone loves technology. And if you love technology and you truly want to be the engineer, here's what you do. You develop the skills for what's called the distinguished engineer. And these are engineers that learn how to communicate their ideas. They learn how to sell. They learn how to lead. They develop executive presence. And these are the people that guys like me bring when I've got to go talk to a client and get down in the weeds on some technology. And they're the often called distinguished engineers or principal engineers, and that's good. But I wouldn't do any engineering career where I was just going to be all tech, all tech, all tech, all tech. And if I was doing engineering, I would get more into things like networking or security and as far away as I could from code writing, because that's the thing that's easy to automate. And that's the thing that, occasionally one of my students, I have an audio problem on a video and I send it to my student and he writes a Python script in ChatGPT, which cleans up the audio without even looking at it. And he doesn't know how to code either. So that's why I would stay away from software engineering. And if you're going to do it, become so good in your career as a developer, and that's fine. Be the top of the top of the top, because the best people can never be replaced by AI. They're always good, but architecture careers can't be there. So, I can tell you when I had a sales engineering role at one of the biggest tech companies in the world, the salespeople earned double what the engineers did, and the architects and the salespeople earned about the same. Consulting is usually in architecture or in sales. I'm going to come in, I'm going to design a system for you, I'll do that, and then what'll happen is the consulting firm will hire somebody from overseas at a lower cost to go do the building. So that's kind of what most people don't realize when they get into these techie engineering careers is Does it matter where you code Photoshop? Doesn't matter. Now, I'm an architect and I got to go meet a client. It matters. It matters if I can leave my Palm Beach home and be in New York in 2 hours, or is it going to take me 20 hours? And it's the cost of the flight matters a lot too. But now I've got a programmer. Now they're in California, or they could be in Chicago, or they can be in the Cayman Islands, or they can be in Cameroon, or they can be in Cambodia, or they can be Cape Town, South Africa. So now you're competing with the global talent pool, which if you're in the part of the global talent pool, it's wonderful for you. But if you're in the US, UK, and Canada, ultimately it will drive down our salaries in the US, UK, and Canada, raise salaries globally. And I don't have a political position on that's good, better, and different, but it depends where you live. I wouldn't want to be in the US and betting my eggs and betting my future on engineering. I'm happy to do an architecture. Architecture can't be replaced by AI. It's very human intervention and it pays real well. So there's that. But no matter what, you have to be happy. So if you love engineering, either focus on being the best of the best of the best and make sure you focus on those soft skills, leadership skills, sales skills, presentation skills. And that way, when the company is, migrating off of people, you can move straight into management consulting, business architecture, cloud architecture, enterprise architecture, any of those roles that are very secure. I hope I answered your question there.
From Lukau, hello from Angola. What cloud roles are more appropriate for developers?
Luca, being a software developer, that is the cloud role that's appropriate for developers. That's it. It's the same role. So that's what most people don't understand, that they think a cloud engineer or an architect is going to be doing the developer job, but they don't. The same developers are still creating the same content. So be a developer. Now, there are some developers that decide to go into DevOps engineering later in their life in more of an automation role. And that's totally fine too. Or you can move into architecture and learn a completely new set of skills. So look, I've retrained a tremendous number of engineers and software developers to be cloud architects. Now, it takes about the same amount of time as it does taking someone from scratch. Now, when you get your first architect job, if you're interested, you will earn a lot more because you have experience on your resume. And I've gotten plenty of developers $300,000 first architect jobs. But here's the key. It's software. It's code. And the cloud is really a network and a data center with a bunch of marketing spin trying to make everything sound fancy. It's just renting space in somebody else's data center. So we're not really the cloud isn't really a development environment. Developers put systems either on a container, or they put systems on a serverless function, which can be done in the data center or the cloud, or they get put on a virtual machine. The rest of all that other cloud stuff is networking and data center things. So I hope that helps. But you could stay a developer, you could become a DevOps engineer, or you can take on a new career like architecture. I used to practice internal medicine. I went from medicine to tech. It's no big deal. You can change anytime you want. And I work with database people. I work with networking people. I work with software developers. And I work with people with no background. They all got great architect jobs as long as they do the training. So what do you love to do? That would be my question for you. Do you enjoy being a developer? Because what you've done in the past does not define your future.
Garada, I am the next student from Botswana. I am coming full force. I am happy to have found a mentor. That's awesome.
Garada, I'm excited to work with you. I'd love to see you in a Zoom session and do everything else. I think it's fantastic.
Franca, what's the best cloud to study? AWS, Microsoft, Google? I love this question.
I love this question, Annika, and I'm glad you asked it. So I'm going to ask you a different question. Which is the best car for you to learn to drive? Honda, a Toyota, a Ford, a Chevy, a Mercedes, a Porsche? And the answer is, it's better to learn how to drive than to learn how to drive only one car and not know how to drive the rest. So, Anka, let me kind of explain to you what is the cloud, and I think it'll make it a lot easier. It's just someone else's network in a data center. So what I like to say to my students is, you need eggs, right? Does it matter if you go to a Carrefour in Greece to buy eggs? If I'm in my village in Greece, there's a little supermarket I go to. It's small, but they have eggs. I live in Florida, so there's Publix and Winn-Dixie. They also sell eggs. A convenience store called Wawa also sells eggs. Just eggs. So when you really come down to it, all these clouds are really the same. If you learn what a virtual machine is, You understand what a virtual machine is in a Nutanix cloud, in an OpenStack cloud, in the AWS cloud, in the Azure cloud, and the Google cloud. If you understand what block storage is, you understand it in the data center, which we work with as clouds. You understand it in AWS, or they call the EBS there. You understand it in Microsoft, where they call it managed disk. I think Google calls them persistent. Whatever, it's the same technology. You want to understand a Kubernetes container. It's the same on all cloud providers. You want to learn a load balancer. It's identical across cloud providers. So I suggest learn the cloud, not a cloud provider. And that's why we teach people. And the other reason, Anka, I don't want you to learn any single cloud is the following this. 98% of organizations use more than one cloud, which means if you only understand one cloud, because you took a certification and learned the name of the service and how to configure those services, then the reality is you don't know how any of the clouds work. So that's why we train people in the cloud. Now, if you're asking where you should get a certification, I typically recommend either the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert. They don't teach architecture, those certifications, but they give you good, generic cloud knowledge on how to build it like a systems administrator. And you want to get one and understand that nothing in these certifications will get you hired. You need to be trained to be an architect, and we do that. But those certifications will help you get an interview. So I'd suggest that you learn the cloud. You'll be 10 times more employable. You'll earn far more. And that way you'll know what to do as well. These are great opportunities. Now, the question I have for you is, what do you actually enjoy doing? Because I'd like to tell me, do you want to be a person that meets with clients, design, presents, and sell them the solution? That's an architect. It's the highest paying of all the roles. Do you want to be someone in the back end that builds these things? Meaning taking the designs of an architect and build them, which is a cloud engineer? Are you a software developer and you want to now go into automations of code releases and things like that? That would be a DevOps engineer. And truth be told, tomorrow I've got a completely free webinar on how to become a cloud architect. And if you want, you can come to that webinar. It's free. And not only will we go over the architect role, but it'll be on Zoom and you can ask face-to-face questions, and we'll do anything in that free webinar we can to help you. So there's that. But I'd love to know what you actually enjoy, because maybe we can guide you to the right thing to learn as well.
Back to Anka, are the cloud consulting roles remote or do they require face-to-face?
Okay, so let's talk about consulting and architecture versus engineering. If it's going to be a consulting role, it's typically an architecture role where you're going to meet with a client, you're going to learn about their business, and you're going to design a solution for them. It's going to be a hybrid role. Now, what do we mean by hybrid? I've been working remote as an architect for 25 years. So I go to the office, maybe once a week and kiss some babies and do some politicking with everybody else to make sure the world knows that I still exist. I work from home and I travel to my client sites. So, that's typically what you would do. An architecture role by its very nature has to be remote. Why? Because we're constantly consulting to new people. So we'll be traveling to client sites, we'll be working from home, we may periodically go to the office to be there. And that's an architect job. Now, I'm also going to tell you, Anka, for the most part, anything that pays you well is going to have a face-to-face element of it. Because Anka, I'm an architect and I've designed plenty of billion-dollar architectures, and convincing a CEO of a business to adopt my billion-dollar architecture over a Zoom meeting, I don't think anybody's that good. But you go meet with that client, you have some presentations, you take them for a couple of dinners, you have some drinks with the executives, you develop a relationship, and people are much more likely to listen to what you have to say. So keep that in the back of your mind. Now, coding jobs or engineering jobs, they can be done fully remote. Now, will the employers allow you to be remote? That depends on your level of productivity and how connected you feel to the team and what you do. I've always worked remote since 2001, but somebody sent me an email at 8 o'clock at night, I answered it in 2 minutes. Someone sent me a text message at 7 o'clock at night, I responded to it in 2 minutes. And I always put out about 110 to 120% of the work as my peers when I work from home. And I lived 2 hours from the office. I never felt like going to the office. I hate going to the office. So as long as my work output was high, I always stayed at home. Now, it's funny, 20 years ago, my manager said, your team's complaining you don't go to the office. And I told them that since you bring in double the revenue that either one of them do, you keep doing what you're doing. And I also said, your work output is more than theirs. So when they start to work as much as Mike does, and they can close as many deals as Mike does, then I'll listen to your complaints and take them seriously. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Engineering can be remote. And that means it doesn't matter if you're in New York, New Haven, New Hampshire, New Guinea, or anywhere in between. And yes, I love Sesame Street, and yes, I love the Cookie Monster, and I like to alliterate by using words with the same first letter. But these are great careers. And what your goal career is determines what your status needs to be.
Freedom Lands. How do I rebrand myself for a high-paying cloud architect career at a large company that constantly needs cloud architects? I am only a low-paid employee right now at the same company, but I have the knowledge to do the cloud architect job. The question is towards Alonzo also. Mike, please, and I'll follow up.
So let's first start. You say you have the knowledge. Can you deliver a presentation to the C-suite? Can you build the business case? Can you design an architecture? Can you lead a large team? Can you sell a $500 million architecture? Can you present at a conference? Can you get in front of a CEO, a CFO, a CIO, and CTO to know what to say? If the answer is that, you still need to get the skills. Now, the other thing is this. If you have those skills and you walk around with executive presence, people are going to see you for far more than you already are. And I can tell you, a lot of the people that I work with, they come to be architects, they take our course, they're in our course for 3 to 4 months, and then they get a promotion at work. And then they don't even finish their architecture training because they're happy. They got a big promotion at work, a $50,000, $100,000 raise, and they're thrilled because they just wanted to move up. And the soft skills, the leadership skills, the communication skills, all of them are there. So there's that. Now, if there's also the problem with what's called typecasting. So it's usually talked about in the actor and actress world, but it also applies in tech as well. Here's what I mean. You watch this Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or a Sylvester Stallone movie, they're awesome, right? They're action movies, they're good. But, Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't typically get asked to play parts next to Jennifer Aniston in a romantic comedy. Neither does Sylvester Stallone. People see them as action stars. They're quite capable in any way, but they see them as action stars and they get action star movies. So sometimes you need to change jobs. And sometimes you do, sometimes you can be seen as more. But how do you do it? Well, you change the way you speak. You change the way you walk. You change who you talk to in the office. You change the way you dress, maybe put on a suit each day. You start creating posts and content that shows you as a leader. When you're in a team meeting and you're in that meeting and the hiring manager or the manager of the group starts asking for volunteers for projects and everybody hides their head. You talk about what you would like to do and how you can help them. You go out there and ask your manager, what are your goals? What could I do better? How can I move up in the company? That's how you be seen as a leader. And that's there. So that's how you build your brand. You change the way you act, and you're also going to have to change who you hang out with. And this is the saddest thing ever. People judge you by the company you keep. So, are you finding the opportunities to go to lunch at work with people that are in a better position than you? Are you dressing like the people that have the job you want? Or are you spending your work time and your lunch time hanging out with the other people that are not receiving the respect from the organization? Now, that doesn't mean give up on your friends. It just means who do you want to be seen with and where? And I'll get to the question in a minute. And for anybody that has questions, please ask them now. There was a really good movie called Picture Perfect with Jennifer Aniston many years ago. And in the movie, she's extremely good at what she does. I think it was marketing, but I actually can't remember. And in this movie, she wants to get ahead. And her manager says to her, look, you're free. You don't have a house with an expensive mortgage. You don't have a $100,000 car with a big mortgage. You look like you could just skip off and go on vacation. What you need is, and she gets a fake fiance, and she starts changing the way she dresses. And the next thing you realize, now that she's just appearing different, now all of a sudden she's got this job. until she said, I'm the same person. This is a fake husband. This is a this is a this is that. But, that movie was really good, picture perfect. So I'm going to turn it over to Alonzo. But before I do, if anybody has any questions, please ask them now. We're very busy people. We come online to answer your questions. And if it's slow on questions because people are being shy, Alonzo and I have a lot of things to do, but we really care about the community and we want to help you. So if you've got questions, please ask them now. Alonzo, let's take your take on this.
Okay, if we could, Tyrone, could you scroll that back? I want to make sure that I got a full understanding. Rebranding yourself as a high-paying architect in your current organization. Okay, I'm going to try my best not to overlap good knowledge that Mike has already established. So I'm wondering, we have to make sure that you have the right baseline to understand if you have the competency or not to have the tools and necessary to rebrand yourself. Do you have the skills and capability? Are you effectively communicating? Are you not only good, but the problem is right there is that I'm thinking is that with your current position, how are you able to showcase your ability to do the job when you're not actually in that job? But are you still able to step out, show leadership capabilities, be able to, even though you're not in the cloud architect role, but are you being diligent in your work? Are you an effective communicator? Are you able to lead or actually influence people not under your leadership to be better than what they are? There's a lot of ways to do this. However, you're going to realistically come across this brick wall, which is typecasting. Okay. No one can see you as a cloud architect if they're seeing you day to day doing a job. They're familiar with you, familiar with watching you doing and using their own personal gauges on how you do that job, but not the job of a cloud architect. So there's a lot of hurdles for you to jump over. And one of the things that unfortunately is a reality is that for you to do the job of a cloud architect, you're going to have to be in an environment that allows you to showcase your skills as such. Yeah. But you have to make sure your foundational skills, baselining the tech, baselining the business skills, understanding all the criteria of the network, of the data center, of the cloud itself, understanding what headwinds, challenges, or upcoming trends that affect the current market. How are you able to effectively communicate that? Do you even have a platform to showcase your knowledge and competency where you are currently? So there's a lot of things that are hamstringing you at the moment because you don't have that environment to grow and flourish as said cloud architect. So I recommend the first thing you need to do, get the competency, skills, business acumen, both sides of the coin, so that you will be in a position for hiring managers, recruiters, or even peers and thought leaders such as Mike and maybe even David Linthicum and many of others out there, so that you can effectively communicate with them, share your thoughts and ideas, create thought leadership articles on LinkedIn, so that that can be your platform of rebranding yourself as a cloud architect. But as it stands now, Freedom Lands, your environment, when it's far gone on a far different side of the spectrum, you're not going to be afforded that opportunity where you are.
But many other companies will give you wonderful opportunities
if
they don't see it. And I had a company where I actually worked, and I had an engineering role. It was a sales engineering role. And I had said I wanted to move into one of the business architecture positions, and I got told no. They said, we don't allow engineers to do so. And I said, I'm finishing my MBA program. There's a hard rule in the New York Metro against letting engineers move into business roles. So next day I showed up in a good suit. My company asked me, Mike, can you set this up? You know what? I don't know. Let me go find the consulting systems engineer. He can do that. Mike, can you do this? Sure, I'll do that. The sales rep said, Mike, I was supposed to take the client to dinner. Something came up. I'll take care of it. Don't you worry. How does this tech work? I don't know. Let me go find those great engineers. And I will tell you, it took about 6 months, but people forgot that I actually knew the technology and started seeing me in a better business light. But, I don't necessarily recommend doing that. I knew that, if it didn't work out at my company after doing that approach, I could have another 3 jobs within 24 hours because my contact list was so good. So I don't necessarily recommend doing that. But, either they'll see it from the way you act and who you hang out with and what you do. And if not, you can go somewhere else. But there's lots of employers. Pretty much every company that's an enterprise needs multiple cloud architects. So it really doesn't matter.
And another thing that I think would be also think about where you are. You have aspirations to do something grand and great, but it doesn't bode well for your current employer, let alone your manager. Years ago, when I started showing, and this was probably a very lifelong lesson for me, is that I tried to show my desire to move on into another department of the organization. Based off of the workflow, you had to showcase your interest with your current manager so that they can let you go to do something else. My manager, in all honesty, she was not thrilled about it. And she took offense, to be honest. And although you want to matriculate and grow in your career, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be beneficial to the people that work with you and that are your leadership. So to be realistic, just be very careful about what your aspirations are, who you share them with, and how that may affect your current employer.
Great advice there, Alonzo. Okay, so if there are any last questions, ask them now, and we'll happily answer them. If not, Alonzo's got all kinds of things to do. I know the press wants to speak to me, which I have scheduled a little bit, but there's lots of other things that I have to do as well. But if you got questions, we really want to be here for you. So I'll give you one more minute to ask questions, and if not, otherwise, we will go back to our day jobs. We just love to create an opportunity where we come out and help guide people. We don't ever want to see people be in a position where they don't know where to go and they do what I did and they spend a fortune and go on certifications, which were all the wrong things to do when in related I needed skills. And while we're waiting to see if you have questions, let me remind everyone that we have our new Enterprise Architect program, which I am so excited about. And it's currently 50% off right now because it's a pre-launch. So take that and keep that in your mind. My team will pop a link to that. Tomorrow, we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, which I love doing. And it'll be on Zoom, so you can ask questions and have a face-to-face meeting. And we look forward to seeing you there. And we also have a completely free document for you on how to get your first cloud architect job. So, take advantage of these free resources. We've got so many of them for you. And I want you to be maximally successful. I know what I did when I started my career. As I said to my manager, I said, can I speak to the VP and see what he wants in the perfect network architect? And my manager says, why do you want this? And I said, because if I know what the senior management wants, then I know what to become. And my manager's like, sure, go ahead. Schedules a meeting with me. I spoke to the VP of network architecture, and I said, well, what would you do for a guy like me? What do you need in an architect? And he gave me a list of skills. Guess what? I listened to that executive who had about 25 years experience, and within 2 years, I was a principal architect. Well, for a position that normally takes 15 to 20 years. And that's why we're here. So you can ask people that have already made it to those levels so you can get there as fast as you can. And that's why we like coming online. But doesn't look like there's any more questions today, which is totally fine. Alonzo and I will get back to all the other things we have to do. I know I had fun speaking with you guys this afternoon. I hope you did too, Alonzo.
Definitely. It's always a pleasure to be here. And feel free, everyone, to come join us every week and every days of the week as we dispel any myths and create and give you all the information and resources you need to be a great cloud and enterprise architect.
Okay. And I think we should end it there. So thank you all. It was so nice to see you today. And we will see you all very soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.